The Himalayas do not forgive trespassers. They never have. Not the climbers who came seeking glory. Not the soldiers who came seeking borders. And not the creature that had lived among those frozen peaks since before maps were drawn, before kingdoms rose and fell in the valleys below. The locals had a name for it, Métis, the man-thing, the one that walks between worlds. The Indian army called it a security threat. The monks called it a reckoning. They were both wrong, and they were both right. This is the story of what happened on the north face of Kangchenjunga in the winter of 1962, 7 weeks after the Sino-Indian War ended, when the mountain decided it wasn't finished bleeding.
For centuries, they have been reported, documented, witnessed, and buried. Governments denied them. Scientists ignored them, but the people who saw them could never forget what they found in the darkness. These are their stories. Welcome to Cryptid Chronicles.
Captain Arjun Mehta had survived the war with China. 43 days at 14,000 feet, watching good men freeze and fall. He thought he was done with mountains. Then Colonel Sharma called him into the briefing room. 3 villages, Lakan, Zimu, and a settlement so small it didn't appear on military maps. The locals called it Dorji Phug. Gone quiet in 6 days. No radio contact. The border scouts who went to investigate came back with 1 man short and a story no one would write in an official report. Something came down from the glacier, the scout said. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. It walked upright. It was white, and it wasn't afraid of our guns. Mehta looked at the briefing photos. Yak carcasses split open like paper. A stone wall, 3 feet thick, punched through from the outside. Deep prints in packed snow, wider than a dinner plate, the stride of something 9 feet tall. "You're going up," the colonel said. "Take 6 men," and he hesitated. "The monastery at Rumtek is sending an escort, 3 of their monks. You will treat them as advisors. You will listen to them." Mehta almost laughed. Almost. "Sir, with respect, monks?" The colonel slid 1 more photograph across the table. It showed the interior of a stone hut. What had been inside it? Mehta stopped, almost laughing. "Yes, sir," he said. "Monks." The eldest monk was called Tenzin. He was 60 years old and moved through the snow like he'd been born in it. No crampons, no modern gear. Just layered wool robes and sandals wrapped in yak hide. He carried a brass prayer wheel in 1 hand and a hand-forged iron staff in the other. The younger 2, brothers, Mehta guessed, maybe 25 and 30, carried supplies on their backs and spoke only to each other, in Tibetan too fast for the army interpreter to follow. On the second night, camped against a rock face at 16,000 feet, Tenzin sat across the fire from Mehta and spoke without being asked. "You think we are here to pray over whatever we find, aren't you?" Mehta said. "No." Tenzin's eyes caught the firelight. "We are here because we have done this before. 3 times in my lifetime, twice in my master's. The Métis does not leave its territory without reason. When it comes to the villages, it means the balance has been broken." "What balance?" "There are places on this mountain," Tenzin said slowly, "where the world is thin, where something old lives. The creature, it is not a monster, it is a guardian. When it attacks the villages, it is because something has disturbed its sacred ground, something human. Maida thought of the border survey teams, the military road construction that had begun near the Zimu Glacier 2 months ago. Blasting, drilling, heavy machinery at altitude. And if the balance has been broken, he said quietly, can it be restored? Tenzin looked up at the mountain. The wind moved through his robes like a living thing. That depends, the old monk said, on whether the Guardian is still itself, or whether it has become something else. The village was not destroyed. That was the wrong word. It was processed. The buildings stood. The cooking fires had burned down to cold ash. 4 days, maybe 5 since anyone had tended them. Personal belongings were untouched. The food stores were intact. But the villagers were gone, every man, woman, and child. And in the center of the village square, something had left a mark. A ring, roughly 15 feet across, stamped into the frozen earth. Boot prints, if you could call them that. Each one pressed 6 inches deep into ground that would have taken a pickaxe to break. And in the center of the ring, placed with deliberate care, a single object, a surveyor's stake, iron, government issue, stamped with the Indian Army Corps of Engineers insignia. Tenzin crouched over it for a long time without speaking. Then he stood and said 4 words to the younger monks. Maida didn't need the interpreter. He knew what the old man's face meant. It knows we're coming. They found the first soldier at the edge of the Zimu Glacier, one of the border scouts who'd gone missing 3 weeks prior. He was alive, barely, frostbitten, dehydrated, eyes fixed on something only he could see. He kept saying the same thing over and over, in Hindi so broken, it took the interpreter 2 full minutes to piece together. It showed me the nest. It showed me the nest. It wanted me to see. They followed his gaze up the glacier. There was a cave mouth, high on the rock face above the ice. A natural formation, dark, wide, and packed around its entrance. Surveying equipment, rope coils, a theodolite, a radio unit, all of it neatly arranged like an offering in reverse, or a warning. Those are from the construction teams, one of Maida's soldiers said. The ones that went silent in September. Tenzin placed his hand on Maida's arm. Captain, he said very quietly, do not use your guns unless I tell you it is time. And when will it be time? You will know, said Tenzin, because I will be running. They went in at 0400. 8 men and 3 monks, headlamps cutting white cones through absolute black. The cave ran back 200 feet before it opened into a natural chamber, and the chamber was warm. Unnaturally warm for altitude. Geothermal, maybe, or something else. The smell hit them first. Animal musk, heavy and ancient, like the inside of a centuries-old den. Then the sound. A low, rhythmic resonance felt more in the chest than heard with the ears. Breathing. Something enormous. Breathing. The headlamps found it in pieces. A foot, 4 toes, each the length of a man's forearm. A leg, densely furred, white going gray at the joints. A torso that blocked the entire back wall of the chamber. And a face. Maida had expected something monstrous, something mindless. What he saw was something exhausted. The Métis looked at them with eyes the color of glacier ice. Old eyes. Eyes that had watched empires come and go from this mountain. Its fur was matted along one flank. Old wounds improperly healed. The construction blasting. The concussive force at altitude. It had been hurt for months. It didn't move to attack. It looked at Tenzin. Tenzin stepped forward, alone, and began to speak. Not in Nepali, not in Tibetan. Something older, a liturgical dialect the interpreter had never heard. His voice was steady and low, the prayer wheel spinning slowly in his hand. No one moved for 11 minutes. Then Tenzin turned around. "The construction must stop," he said. "Permanently. The road cannot come through the Zimu Pass." Mehta thought of the colonel, of the military maps, of the strategic value of a mountain road along the Chinese border. He thought of the surveyor's stake in the village square. He thought of the scout who'd been shown the nest, set free as a message. "I'll make the recommendation," Mehta said. Tenzin looked at him for a long moment, measuring something. "See that you do, Captain," the old monk said, "because it will not ask again." The official report listed the village disappearances as a weather event. The missing construction teams were reclassified as casualties of the Sino-Indian War. The road through Zimu Pass was quietly deprioritized and eventually removed from all planning documents. The villages, Lakan, Zemu, Dorje Fug, their populations returned within a week of the army's withdrawal. No one ever fully explained where they had gone. They didn't talk about it. They rebuilt their fires. They went on. Captain Mehta requested a transfer to a lowland posting. He got it without question. He never went back to the mountains, but sometimes in the years that followed, reading reports of strange tracks in the snow, of yak herders who swore they'd seen a white shape watching from the ridgeline, he thought about those glacier blue eyes. Not angry, not monstrous, just old and patient and waiting. For the mountain had always known something. The armies and the governments and the map makers had not. The Himalayas do not belong to anyone. They never did. And neither does what lives inside them. The Meitei has been reported across Nepal, Tibet, northern India, and Bhutan for thousands of years. Every culture along the Himalayas has a name for it, and a warning that goes with that name. Leave the high places alone. Don't disturb what sleeps in the glaciers. Some guardians are older than your gods. The construction road through Zimu Pass was never built. Make of that what you will. I'm your narrator, and you've been listening to Cryptid Chronicles stories. New episodes every Friday. And if you're watching this in the dark, good. That's exactly where this belongs. Stay afraid. Stay curious.